For too long, military families have been moving into homes with leaky roofs, patchy heating and unanswered repair requests. But now the government says it's time to stop the rot. A new consumer charter will guarantee higher standards across all 36,000 military homes recently brought back into public ownership. It's part of a wider effort to fix decades of underinvestment and to start treating service families more like customers, not just tenants. So here's what's on the table. Firstly, there's a promise that urgent repairs will be completed faster. All families will be provided with a named housing officer, so it's goodbye to calling faceless organisations with people you've never met or heard of before. Tenants will have the freedom to make changes and improvements within a property, something that's not been supported in the past. Floor plans and images of properties will be made available to help families decide upon the appropriateness of an offered property. And 1,000 of the worst homes across Defence will be refurbished urgently this year. All of this is due to be delivered before the first anniversary of the buyback deal, which was announced back in January. The MOD says this is just the beginning, with a full defence housing strategy to follow later this year.
For too long, military families have been moving into houses or moving around the estate without the right standards, so it really sets the bar. And that will create also new housing officers, so they should have a single point of contact for any complaints, issues, or anything they may want to raise. I've just today been in one of the houses, has been left void now for 3 to 6 months, and you can really start to both smell it and see it. And now moved in, just had a look at one of the new houses that people move into, and it's a really fantastic standard, and it's exactly what we should be doing for armed forces.
Now, this is a major shift in tone from previous years, and ministers now say that this strategy will be shaped by independent oversight and real lived experience. To help shape that strategy, the MOD's appointed an expert team chaired by housing specialist Natalie Elphick-Ross, the former MP. It includes developers, housing advisors and forces family advocates, all tasked with turning policy into real-world change. Their job? Hold suppliers to account, modernise the system and make sure military families are finally being listened to. The team includes big names in housing, but also voices with direct experience of military life, including the Army Families Federation. The government's also brought in celebrity power in the shape of Coronation Street star and Forces champion Anthony Cotton, who's been looking at renovated housing in Catterick Garrison.
You know what it's like, the military. People just put up with stuff, and it's been like that for forever. And actually, yes, there's things that this isn't supposed to be super luxurious. It's not supposed to be that. But there are basics. You're allowed to do things to the house that you weren't allowed to do before. Only an idiot would say there wasn't a direct connection between retention and recruitment and the standard of living that's offered. You know, the armed forces, the salary famously has always had the X factor built in, the X factor meaning, the additional things like food and accommodation, etc. And, if you were joining the armed forces a couple of years ago and were reading all these horror stories about housing, for one example, would that make you join? If you were a parent, would you be encouraging if that's the stuff that you were reading? So it has an absolute direct connection between retention and recruitment.
The MOD says these changes will be in place by January 2026, but for families who've waited a long time, real improvement can't come soon enough. So tell us what you think. Will these new ideas help solve old problems? Is the government on the right track when it comes to making military housing better for all?
Thanks for watching. For more from BFBS Forces News, like and subscribe to our channel.